That, I'd like to call to order the Thursday, August 19th, 2021 Watertown Board of Adjustment meeting. Can I get a roll call?
Yes. Colhane.
Here.
Case.
Here.
Aletsky.
Present.
Dargis Johnson.
Here.
Dolly.
Here.
Spire.
Here.
Hanson is absent. Diana Ford is absent. And Jeff Brink is also absent.
All right, we have quorum.
Yes.
Moving on to item 3 is the approval of the minutes from the July 8th, 2021 Board of Adjustment meeting.
Case so moved.
Second, Colleen.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on those meeting minutes? All right, we'll take a vote.
Okay. Spire.
Yes.
Dolly.
Yes?
Dargis Johnson.
Yes.
Aletsky.
Yes. Yes.
Case.
Yes.
And Colhane.
Yes.
Okay. Motion's
Motion
approved.
passes. Moving on to the regular agenda, item 4A is board consideration of a conditional use for a home occupation on property located at 23 20th Street Southwest. And Stacy, if you'd like to take us through that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this particular request is for a conditional use at 23 20th Street Southwest. It is in the R2A, which is single family attached residential district, and the applicants would like to do a specialty store business within their home. Their business does meet the provisions listed for the home occupation in Chapter 21.70, and you can see there are the 9 provisions here. And then also they have addressed and given some consideration to the conditional use provisions within the application. So they are looking to, I understand they're looking to start out by doing a small store within their home that is less than the 25% of their floor area. And then potentially, depending on business, maybe move to a commercial location.
So when we say store, what are we selling?
I'm actually going to ask the applicant, if I could, to give a better description of that. Mr. Chair, would that be all right?
Yes, please
Thank
proceed.
you.
Hello, this is Trevor.
And we'll consider the public hearing open on this. Thank you.
Okay. It's going to be like an Asian store, but it's going to, right now, we're just starting out with dried goods, canned goods, dried goods. It'll be some jewelry, and it's pretty much they already are pre-ordered, and then they just come and pick up or we'll deliver.
So you stayed in here, you talk about, will it be big trucks dropping things off? I mean, when you say less than 20, what's the floor space right now of the home? That would be how much floor space?
It's going to be our garage, which is just a double car garage.
And then do you expect much business people coming and showing up there? Or do you think it's going to be more?
It's more of pre-ordered. It's not very much business right now. We're just kind of getting the customer base going.
Are you going to live in the house?
Yes,
And
yes.
then sell out of the garage?
Yes, me and my
Okay.
wife, we do live in the house, and we work regular jobs, and then it's pretty much after hours, like 5 o'clock until like 9.
What do the neighbors say?
They like it, so yeah, they come on over and they look at what we have.
We have not received any public comment. Again, the property was posted, and we did send out adjacent landowners within 250 feet, and we have not received comments.
And looking at the property, it does look like there's a shed in the back of the property, but the business would be operated only out of the attached garage structure?
That is correct. I tried to convince the wife to make that the kind of the store, but then we'd have to go through the garage, through the backyard, and into there.
And
And it
that
is one of the
would not
provisions
be
within the
allowed
home
by ordinance,
occupation,
right?
That it has to take place in the principal structure or an attached accessory structure?
That's correct, yes.
Do we, so these things that you're selling, are some of them are you're making them yourself? You make some of the things yourself, and some of it is just you're acting as just a handler,
We're
third
just
party.
just a handler.
Okay.
Yep.
Stacy, are you aware? I know some communities we talk about retail sales in. I know we don't have specific language in our orders, but do we have many other retail sales types establishments in residential zones throughout the city, which would connote more towards a commercial use?
I think if we do, I think we have a few, but I think that they're more very, very low volume and small scale. And I think that trying to think back on some of them, I could certainly do some research. But
On West Kemp, where he does the woodworking and stuff, that's out of his garage. What's
Yeah.
that zoned? Is that zoned commercial? You know what I mean?
I guess I don't particularly have a problem with the request before us. However, I think we have to be careful when we say specialty store that as a home occupation, what does that really mean down the road? I mean, I know when it comes to firearms, we don't have a lot of say-so on those types of things because those are regulated by the ATF and state law. But, my experience is most communities don't allow retail sales unless it's things that I'm producing or making in my home. I'm selling the quilts or the clothes that I'm making, and I know we don't have those regulations here in town. And again, I don't have a problem with this. Where this location is proximity to the 4-H complex. It's almost kind of a quasi commercial area that they're right next door to. But I'm not necessarily certain that if somebody's got a 4,000 square foot house and they want to start having 500 foot of retail space and having more than just the incidental use that you have, that they start running it 7 days a week. And I know we don't have that in our ordinance, but that's something we might want to be thinking about how we want to handle.
sure, we
those
could look
types of
into
things.
that. Absolutely.
But with the trucking business, just a half a block north of there,
Which
and
is a
stuff.
non-conforming use.
Yeah, still, I think that's why it's nice that we can vote on something like this on piece by piece. Like you just said, the 4-H buildings and the trucking company.
Do you foresee your business growing to the point where you would get a storefront?
Yes, I do.
That is your goal?
Yes. Yep.
So if we were to give you this,
It's almost too small right now, but we just can't
could we
quite.
could we put a time limit on it that within a year or maybe 18 months we review it again to see, if you're, I mean, obviously if you're growing, you're gonna move yourself anyway, but
It's something within our purview to do that. I mean, we have the place, time, and manner.
Yes, that's something the board could do.
And then if they ever sell it, or they're out of business, if you go to a storefront, you can't lease your garage out for a different storefront.
Right, I wouldn't want to, yeah.
Well, I think this is a home occupation specific to them living there, so that wouldn't happen. No.
We have in other cases where there was potential concern for, nuisance traffic, other things in relation to a specific home occupation. Wanted to review that at a future date to make sure that it hasn't become an issue.
Like I said, I don't have a problem with the request before us. I do note that that this is something of a dead end street, and that's why we got to be looking at those types of things from a traffic perspective. And if the neighbors have no concerns about it, again, I don't have those concerns.
right,
either.
and I'm with you on that, other than if they're doing a heck of a business and then why go pay rent? Let's just stay here. That would be my, and the neighbors are saying, I sure wish we could somehow get them to go to a storefront. You know what I mean? That would be the only reason that I would say
Come back to it.
come back. I mean, yeah, definitely get your feet wet, see if it goes well, but at least it does give the neighbors some relief if you guys are really, really busy and you don't want to move. And they would at least have something to come and be up here next time and say, no, we would prefer that you not renew their license, because we'd wish you the best that you would have to, relocate. So that would, I don't know, maybe I'm splitting hairs.
No, I don't think that's an out of line request. You do have your sales tax license?
Yes.
So what would be something that you could live with an 18-month review, or?
Yeah, I think 18 months.
Let's just go 2 years.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay. And we hope you're moved out into a storefront long before that.
I hope so. Yes. Yes.
I wish you well.
Need an Asian store in Watertown.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Was there anybody else to speak in the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve with a 2-year review.
I have a motion. Do I have a
Oh.
second?
I'll second that, Oletsky.
Any discussion from the board before we take action on that? All right, roll call vote.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Culhane,
Yes.
Kays,
Yes.
Oletsky,
Yes.
Dargis Johnson, Spire,
Yes.
and Dolly.
Yes,
Motion carries.
that conditional use is approved.
You're
Moving
welcome.
on to item 4B, which is a board consideration for a variance request on the rear yard setback requirement in the R2 Single Family Attached Residential District for Lot 7, Block 9 of Valley View 3rd Edition.
Yes, this should look very familiar to everyone here. So this basically is a request, and it's from J&J Land Sales as well as Dale Heilman with Heilman Homes. And they would like to get started on one of the lots that is in the process of being replatted to enlarge the depth from 117 feet to 123 feet, which would allow for 6 additional feet. That would, they're looking at, I guess, maybe I should back up a little bit. This is Lot 7, Block 9, Valley View 3rd, which again is in the process of being replatted. They're asking for a 19-foot rear yard setback as the lot is platted today. Should the lot be rezoned, which you had recommended approval, but it will be heard by the city council as well. And if that is approved and the replat is approved, then we would end up with the 25-foot rear yard, which would meet the requirement. This variance is to, I understand, allow for construction a bit earlier than waiting through the entire zoning process, and that would be at the applicant's own risk.
How can we as a community issue permits to a parcel that doesn't meet the zoning requirements, it's not properly zoned? It's not that I'm just saying, again, I understand why we're doing it. You're trying to expedite things, we're going into the fall. But what precedent does this set when maybe you don't have something that is as simple and clear cut as this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that the zoning,
I mean, theoretically, somebody could challenge the zoning. The zoning has still got to go through 2 readings. There's got to be a publication, a 20-day waiting period. We're talking 35, 40 days. And I understand
Yes.
that's why they're coming in and asking for this. I'm just trying to understand under what authority do we even have to make this a legal action?
Well, if it didn't pass, they'd be non-conforming then.
I'm just saying, how do I grant a variance to a use that's not even allowed in the zoning because it's not adequately properly zoned?
The purpose of
Right.
a variance isn't
Right.
to act as a stopgap, but
we can't give a use variance, and
Well, that's what we're doing, though.
you're right, essentially, Commissioner Kays. There is an issue there.
Can I build a twin home in an R1 zone?
No,
And this property is zoned what?
R1 today,
And it won't be zoned R2 until when?
until the city council takes action at second reading.
So I'm telling you right now, based on practice alone, I'm just gonna say no. And that's what my vote will be. It's not because I don't want to see this thing move forward.
Sure.
I think it just sets a very bad precedent.
One of those timing.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it is a timing thing.
Just a follow-up question, Commissioner Case. So the risk is on the builder then, if we approve the variance and it doesn't get approved to R2, then they would have to return it to conforming status, they'd have to remove the foundation and so forth. Is that
Yeah, I
correct?
agree, yeah. But I just think it's bad form.
We do have a public hearing on this, so I'll go ahead and open that at this time. Anybody to speak in the public?
I'm not seeing anyone.
All right, we'll close the public hearing. And we'll look for the board to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve for discussion.
I have a motion to approve as presented
I'll second that.
and a second. Discussion on this item?
Well, I agree with Todd 110%, but Bill has a point. If it doesn't pass, do we get the backhoe and we dig the foundation back out?
I'm just saying that I've been around the block long enough that I've seen where boards issue a permit, and while everything looks good, something doesn't end up happening just right. And in the end, you have to tell them, you got to start all over and do it again. And then they say no, and then we get involved into an illegal entanglement. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I've seen it happen. And again, I still think we lack authority to issue a variance to something that's not for a use, that's not allowed in the district that it is. And even though we have decided to move forward and rezone it, yeah. I mean, it's just the purist in me, and I apologize.
No, I agree with you. I just throwing it out there.
This is for a twin home, and from a staff perspective, it's not so much about asking for the variance, because the variance could be in either district. The variance could be platted or as is today, it would be a variance, could change later. But for the use that, I wish Attorney Roby was here, but I do find a bit more risk in that.
Whether they wanted to build a single-family house there or a twin home there, as you say, is not relevant. The question is, should we grant a variance to this? And so then it gets back to the question, is that the lot was platted less than a couple of years ago, knowing that this is the land I need to build a single-family house on it. So there would be no basis or need to grant a variance because it's a self-imposed hardship, correct?
Yes, we can take a look at the application here, and the hardship that's listed here is the home that the customer wants will not fit on the lot.
So what you're saying, Todd, if that was just a single dwelling house,
I'd still vote no because they just platted the ground 2 years ago.
Right.
And if they didn't make a big enough lot to start selling, then it's their own damn fault.
right. Yep.
I understand what we're trying to do here. You're trying to get another thing in before winter hits. I get it. I just don't think it's good form.
Yeah, and it's simply a request, and board certainly can take action as they feel appropriate.
Any additional comments before we take a vote? All right, we'll proceed with the roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Spire.
No.
Kays.
No.
Culhane.
No.
Aletsky.
No.
Dargits Johnson.
No.
Dolly.
No.
Okay, motion fails on that one.
And thank you, Stacy. We'll move on to item 4C on the agenda. It's board consideration of a variance request to the setbacks and minimum off-street parking requirements to allow for the construction of a new office building on the property located at 800 10th Street Southwest in the C3 Highway Commercial District. Stacy, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Dolly. What we have here are a number of variances that the owner has requested, most of them being in the way of setbacks. There is a current office building there. They would like to demo that and build a new one. It's at 800 10th Street Southwest. That would require a side and a front yard variance, as well as a variance to the minimum parking requirements, landscaping, and lighting. The existing lot is smaller than allowed in the C3. It's 12,000 square feet approximately, and the C3 does require a 20,000 square foot lot. The existing building is 3,000 square feet, and they want to construct a 4,000 square foot building. The new structure would be shifted further to the east and the north than the existing building within the unimproved 66-foot public right-of-way known as Burlington Northern Drive. So that is where they'll put some of their parking as well. It has been a practice, and we will talk with them about potentially vacating that right away, as I understand that it's functioning more as a private drive at the current time and not much of a city street. So that would be an option to look at vacating. All required parking spaces are going to be required to be paved. And a shared driveway access onto Highway 20 from the property to the south will be required to be memorialized by recording an access easement and applying for an access permit with the South Dakota DOT. And a 5-foot sidewalk will also need to be installed along Highway 20 while maintaining a 7-foot grass boulevard within the right-of-way section. So with that, the application does state a few reasons for a hardship, and those reasons being constraints for to redevelop this property because it is an odd shape and a smaller lot with double frontage. As well as a portion of the lot was taken as right-of-way as an H lot, and it's adjacent to Highway 20, so it did create that odd shape. There are adjacent properties that do have similar setbacks as proposed, including 814, 806, 830, and 830 10th Street Southwest. Excuse me there.
So it looks like the sidewalk's going to be right along the highway, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Parking is going to be located to the east,
I believe to the north.
north and east.
Yes, north and east.
But the structure is going to be further north than the current one, so it would be a better setback or separation from the southern property boundary.
Yes, and that is one thing to note here. Currently, from the southern boundary, there's basically a 0-foot setback, which is concerning. And then they're proposing to do a 10-foot setback, and that would be much better for fire separation, maintenance, access, all of those types of things.
Are they going to access the new building from the north or the south? Where it already is from the south? East and west?
North and east, according to the site plan.
Yeah, I might need a little help from the applicant on this one. Here we go.
So you're still going to have the access from Highway 20, not Burlington Northern?
Has both of the property to the south uses that access as well, right?
I believe so.
Correct.
Unless they come back with a vacate.
That's the city to the east of where they want to go. That's a city street. That's not a private drive.
Correct.
That's correct. That is a
Oh.
right of way at this time,
Really?
and
Learned that tonight too.
yeah, it's Yeah, no, it's functioning as a private drive, and I understand that there's been parking encroachment in there for some time, and we have talked with the applicant and will have additional conversations about potentially proposing a petition to vacate some of that that's
No
unnecessary.
utilities in that right away? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
The right of way on the north side of the property, the way that it curves there at the angle, that's not untypical that we would see with right of way. Is that being considered for some sort of vacation as well?
Potentially.
But isn't that more of a state issue with that? They need that wide angle for the turn of the trucks.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, that's something
Okay.
that would have to be looked at with the state as well, for sure.
But that does impact the way that you can build on that lot and the fact that it is a substandard sized lot. I think in the past where we've looked at some of these older commercial lots in town, we have historically made some exemption based on the size and placement of these older lots for redevelopment efforts.
I agree, Blake, and I know that when there was some studies done earlier, 10, 15 years ago, that talked about the setback on the highway, the highway commercial district being 35 and 40 feet, that there was always talks that they probably should be reduced, because especially on existing developed properties, or those properties that, if they were to be redeveloped, could meet it, and that obviously couldn't be done in this case. And
Right.
so I think and that we have done similar things in the past on redevelopment, as long as you're trying to make the situation better than it was.
We're right back to the building is larger than what it is now. You know, just like the guy who wants to build the house on the lot that's too small. I mean, we're going larger than the structure now. We're not really helping ourselves at all.
I think if we could get a vacation of the property, so that you can maybe justify it then to the east, if that's where the parking is going to go.
Well, and the other
Then
thing
they
to,
would- then
to
they
look
would
at
own
too
more
is
land.
so that south setback is 0 foot right now, if not, encroaching on the property line, and the proposal is 10 feet off that southern property line. So even though it's bigger, it does improve the setback from the neighboring side at the minimum.
Is the public hearing open yet?
I'll open the public hearing at this time. Is there anybody there to speak on behalf or against? Is the applicant available?
Yes.
Is this just going to be for your own business offices, or are you planning to lease them out?
Our own main office.
Your business is farm-related?
Yes. I think the building on the back side isn't very far off of the buildings to the south, as far as lining that back wall up.
Are you gonna have a lot of traffic and stuff? People coming and going, or is it gonna be
Our-
mainly?
Our main office now does not have a lot of traffic. Farmers will stop on Burlington Northern and park over there and walk over. We do have several trucks that drive that alley, especially at harvest time. So the traffic is already there at times.
So the imposition of the requirement to have a sidewalk and the frontage on Highway 20, that's making you consider pushing further to the east versus relocating, or having it within the established plat, correct?
Correct, and trying to get the correct size of the building, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're trying to stay back somewhat close to our neighbors also.
Okay. Because you'd be the only one with a sidewalk in that area.
The trees that are located on that property currently, with the new building construction, are you planning to remove those trees?
Yes.
Will you be replanting any trees?
Probably not.
We do have a one tree per 50 feet requirement, and I do know that there was a variance request for landscaping, and I think that probably comes in the way of taking some green space out potentially up here and meeting that 15 feet of green space along the street frontages.
So just to make sure I'm clear, currently the building is how far back from Highway 20 right now? I was getting lost in the staff report.
Oh, yes. Let's take a look here. Okay. So currently, on the, it's a 40-foot required setback on the west, and existing, it's at one point it's 31, and another point it's 24. So it's narrower.
Average, yeah, so average
Yeah.
is 27 and they want to be 20 feet.
So they're proposing basically 32 at one spot, 21 at one spot, and 22 at the other. So there are areas. It's fairly close within a couple of feet. They'd want to be a couple of feet closer, but fairly similar.
But we're going to be a little bit closer than we are on the west, but we're going to be further away on the south. And we're going to be a little closer than we are on the north. And a little closer on the east than we are right now. Is that basically it?
Yep.
And as far as the number of parking spaces that they're required to have,
They're using some of the right-of-way. It is a 7.5 foot encroachment into that right-of-way, and they would have 10 off-site. They need 16, and with using the right-of-way, they would have the 16. So we would want to work with them on following up to potentially vacate that or go forward and memorialize council allowing that. But it is a historic use, so we figured we would come and see if this was feasible for them before pursuing that.
so the basic size of the existing structure, they have parking that meets the existing structure. 10 fits the existing structure right now.
Basically, with the new structure, it'd be 16.
But they're in compliance right now with the existing structure. They're meeting parking requirements now as it is. With their existing structure of 3,000 square feet, do they have enough parking to accommodate that? I mean, are they in conformance right now or not?
I believe they are in conformance, but they are again using the right of way,
Right,
and that's
right.
been historically used for that purpose. So yes, I do think that I think that they would be meeting that.
Stacy, who owns the property to the east then? The silver roofed building?
Ag Works Co-op, the same.
Same? So if we were to vacate the alley, it would join all together, so maybe we could center that building in there better and get parking off of Burlington Northern. Turn your building so your customers enter from the north off of Burlington.
I think there are farmers that use that unnamed street during the fall, don't they?
Yeah, for our purposes, but
Yeah.
the building to the south would probably have heartache over that also. Because they do come back through there, and they park behind their building.
So we cannot vacate the alley then?
I don't think you would want to do the whole thing.
Yeah, we would have
Still
to.
use it.
We would have to take a look at it and
They own
see.
both sides of it, Rhonda. I don't know what you're rolling your eyes at. There's the scale. I think what he's talking about, the scale's down south there, right? Isn't that how you get to the
See
scale?
the truck down there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
where the scale is.
he's coming off the scale
Yeah.
and heading out to Burlington Northern.
Yeah, but you could still vacate it. They own both sides. They own the whole works. Pun
It
intended.
could be a private drive with an
Yeah.
access and utility
Let's-
easement.
Why don't we give them the variance and then we can vacate it later. Sounds good.
Yeah, we certainly will follow up on that and take another look and see what that would actually take, because that has been brought up that it's kind of functioning more as a private drive anyhow.
All right, any additional questions for the applicant? Anybody else to speak in the public?
Thank you.
Close the public hearing. Thank you. Do we have a motion by the board?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the request as applied for, with some of the reasoning behind it, that they are improving the situation to the south, that they will have a chance to address parking with staff moving forward. It's not a real significant encroachment to Highway 20. And I'll leave it with that.
The lot is also the size of the nature of the lot makes it very difficult to conform with the specific requirements.
And past practices of the board.
Yep.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Case.
Second, Colleen.
Any additional discussion before we take a vote? Okay, roll call.
Okay. Spire,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes,
Dargis Johnson.
Yes.
almost.
Yes, because Liam said so.
All right.
I'm kidding.
Thank you, Rhonda. Aletsky,
Yes.
Kays,
Yes.
and Culhane.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 5 on the agenda is open public comments. Was there anybody to speak in the public on an item that wasn't on the agenda? Anybody in the room?
I'm not seeing anyone.
All right, we'll move on to any new business.
I don't have any new business.
Any from the board? All right, old business from Stacy or the board?
I don't have any either on that.
I'll
I'd move to
take
adjourn.
a motion to adjourn in that case.
I'd move to adjourn, Colleen.
Spire, second.
All right, all in favor of a motion to adjourn?
Aye.
Say aye. Opposed? All right, thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you so much.